Again, this is Charlie Belfontaine on the HomeBuyer's Hour, and you're listening to WCPT AM 820, where the facts matter. And we have, today we're going, she is actually a real estate agent, but her main purpose is a transaction coordinator. And I want to talk about the importance of this person, especially when it comes to the different vendors. But before we go ahead and do that, I want to introduce Patrick Loftus of Loftus Law. Patrick, if you don't mind, give us a rundown of why you're my favorite attorney.
Charlie, we only got 53 minutes and 30 seconds, so there's just not enough time. We want to make sure we let everyone have a chance to talk. Anyways, I'm Patrick Loftus. I am a real estate lawyer, and I want to make it clear that that's important. I'm a real estate lawyer. My law firm's called Loftus Law. My phone number is 773-632-8330. You can call or text, but I'm just as likely to put you to my answering service if it's a random number. So the better approach would be to email me, Patrick at Loftus, L-O-F like Frank, T like Tom, U-S like Sam, .law.
And what was that phone number again?
773-632-8330 if you want to get put directly into my answering service.
Outstanding. And this week I ended up having a veteran buying a house, and we were talking about the requirements for the loans that this person needed. And she was under the impression that she needs a radon test, a lead paint, test, and a termite exam, or the NPM 833 form. And the whole thing, I was really disappointed that the professionals that were helping them were not really giving this veteran proper advice that came in there. So the good thing I did was reach out to Joey and texted him just to make sure that I'm not wrong. And Joey Matthews, I think you're one of the smartest guys, especially when it comes to VA mortgages. And I know I'm not trying to pigeonhole, you do everything else. But if you don't mind, can you please share your contact information with everyone?
Sure. Joey Matthews, NMLS 1330694. You could call or text me at 630-235-2405. You can find me at thevaloannerd.com or across the social medias as at the VA Loan Nerd. And thank you, Charlie. You're too kind.
Well, you do have one of the most romantic voices in the world, too. So I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. I'm going after the Seinfeld episodes here.
It's like nails on a chalkboard to my wife.
I love it. And then here, like I said earlier, we have a transaction coordinator. She's also a real estate agent, but her main purpose is being involved in a team. And when we were talking this morning, and we usually go out to breakfast before we started recording the show, it was just amazing about all the balls that are in the air when it comes to a good quality transaction coordinator. But first, I want you to introduce yourself, your team. Give us all the lowdown. If somebody has questions, how do they get hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Madeline Ackerlund. I am a licensed realtor and transaction coordinator at Berkshire Hathaway under the Dowell Group with Danielle Dowell. And you can reach me at madeline@thedowellgroup.com, Madeline spelled Madeline. And my phone number is 312-439-9600. I'm also on Instagram at Madeline Ackerlund. And that's a bit about how to contact me. I'm pretty responsive.
I love it. Give me that phone. You're not going to go to voicemail like Patrick?
No, I answer everything.
Patrick does too. Don't let him lie. Give us that phone number one more time slowly.
Yeah, 312-439-9600.
Outstanding. And my name is Charlie Belfontaine. I own Chicagoland Home Inspectors. Any questions about becoming a home inspector or what our business is about, please reach out. I would love to answer any questions. 312-544-9180. And when it says that if you want to talk to an actual human being, press 2, that will bring you to me. So, Madeline, I got one first question for you.
Oh, I might have an answer.
What the heck is a transaction coordinator?
Yeah, it's something you're not going to see a lot of individual agents have. It's something you'll find more likely on larger teams, or top producing agents will have an administrative assistant of some kind. But a transaction coordinator, as silly as it sounds, it's self-explanatory. I coordinate all of our transactions. I do everything from listing paperwork to scheduling photos for homes that we're selling, buyer paperwork, setting up showings, to coordinating with attorneys and appraisers, doing home inspections. Everything from the start to the finish of a transaction with a client, I take care of.
The actual work.
The actual work, absolutely. But it does bring up a point. There's, it's this business is more than just unlocking a door and filling in blanks on a piece of paper. And I know I say that over and over again, but a lot of people just still believe that, any real estate agent or home inspector, attorney, they're all the same and anybody can really do it. So we were talking about some of the unique things that fall into your lap. And I'm more like going after the proofreading stuff.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on some of that stuff and give us some examples of things to look for and things that went wrong?
Oh, 100%. So I am one of those rare people that loves paperwork. I'm made fun of constantly for it. I love paperwork. I love the minutia of it and the details. And having someone like that on your side when you're purchasing or selling real estate is huge. People that love those details, people that love the minutia, people that'll look through a multi-board real estate contract, the 7.0, my favorite. It's a 13-page contract. I can tell you probably what's on every single page and every line, but that's not enough time in the day. So I read through contracts every single day, and having someone who's dedicated to spending their time and detail-orientedness on reading a contract is huge. A lot of agents aren't really well trained in contract reading or writing. A lot of the real estate schools aren't super detailed when it comes to it, and that's through no fault of their own. You have to find people to teach you. So I've been lucky enough to have great mentors. But when I'm looking through contracts, there are a lot of things that I look for. Is the tax pin correct? Are the legal names of the buyers and seller on there? Or is it their nicknames, which would make the contract useless? Personal and real property, what's attached? What do we want? Does it actually have washers and dryers? Or is the seller going to have to pay for that out of pocket because we all missed it when they put their offer in and we accepted it? Is there a home warranty? Do they have a lease back? Are they doing as is? Is it a short sale? Do they need a multi-unit addendum? Is it vacant land?
There is a lot.
Charlie's watching me make all sorts of faces.
Yeah,
I'm hearing
I
that.
had to reach around the screen here and say, jump in,
I'm going from like just frowning to smiling. Look, most agents would say that, the lawyer is responsible for cleaning up the paperwork. My role is different. And, to be honest, something we talked about at breakfast is that if you can get multiple sets of eyeballs to look at something, there's a lot of stuff about what you just said that isn't going to be something that is for attorneys to review. For example, the personal property. And let me just clarify. So personal property is, it has a definition legally speaking. So real property is the piece of dirt and the house on it. And then there's everything inside of it. So when we
that's a long list.
Well,
Yes.
it's paragraph 3 on the multi-board 7.0, and literally it's a check the box sort of thing. And then there's at the end there's where you can add and subtract things. But as the lawyer, unless it's like one of my good friends buying the place, and I'm going to be there for a 40th birthday party or something. 40th, probably 50th.
Are we kidding, right?
Yeah, unfortunately. I'm probably never going to see this property in person. I don't know if there's a washer and dryer there. And quite frankly, I'm more focused on the real estate taxes. I'm focused on building violations. I'm focused on other things than did somebody check all those boxes correctly. There's just not enough time in the day for me to worry about whether there is carpet or if we have included the attached blinds.
Yeah, that one surprises people when I tell people that aren't familiar with real estate that, yeah, you can get all of the blinds and the curtains, the curtain rods, all of that, attaching and checking off TV brackets and mounts. These are things that people don't know that can be included in the sale of a home.
Yeah, if those details are right when it comes to me, then I can focus on the places where I can really add value, which is scrutinizing if an assessment's gone up. What do things look like if it's in Chicago? I can look at the building department's website. If it's in the suburbs, you can submit a FOIA request. On down the line.
You can't do a FOIA in the city of Chicago?
You can,
okay.
But a lot of that information is going to be fairly readily available on the
right.
building department website. yeah, you can go a step further and submit a FOIA, and you might go and do that if you do find something on the building department's website, just to see if there's anything in terms of more detail about that. But in the suburbs, I would typically use a FOIA request, and it's pretty straightforward.
Simple. Yeah.
I mean, these days I don't have to drive over to the village hall to do it. It's all done via email. We can thank COVID for pushing the various municipal entities to finally embrace the electronic age.
Closings have gotten a lot more pleasant now that
even paying parking tickets, I could,
unless you have one like I had last week where everyone's at the table and everyone just thinks it's we're having a luncheon and we're going to spend 3 hours learning every single thing about each other.
I hate using the phrase "time is money," but
oof, man,
it's respect more so. You have to respect other people's
absolutely
time and energy coming in.
Yeah, I was very pleasant on the outside, but if they could read my thoughts, they would have a lot of bad things to say about me.
So I do want to come back to that, and I want to dwell more on that paragraph 3 a little bit. But Madeline, I kind of want you to go over a couple things with Joey. So one of the things about Joey Matthews that you don't know is you know what a pre-approval is, of course, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And he uses the term pre-guarantee. I know there's no legal termination and stuff like that, but everything, and I think you can relate to this. If you go ahead and do your job up front, it makes the ending so much easier. Oh yeah. And how do you work with the mortgage people when it comes to making sure that your buyers, for example, or maybe the buyer for your sellers, making sure that they're going to be the best choice and there's not going to be an 11th hour hiccup that comes in there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it comes down first to when we mostly do a lot of the seller side, so listing side, but this season has been really different. We've been a lot more buyer heavy than we usually are. I think everyone's feeling a strain on inventory because no one wants to get rid of or let go of their interest rates right now. So
they will.
That's a whole nother problem. But even just looking at pre-approvals and making sure that interest rates are put in correctly on the contract, we always ask for a little wiggle room in that interest rate that's on the contract. If we see an interest rate on the pre-approval that's different than what's on the contract, I want an explanation. If they switch from a conventional to an FHA, what's going on? What can we do to help the appraiser out? Is it a spot approval that's needed? Is the condo association responsive enough for us to get it through? What
does all that mean? And Joey, if you don't mind, what is a spot approval? What's she talking about?
So FHA spot approval is when you can close an FHA loan in a association or a project, I should say, that's otherwise not FHA approved.
So one of the condos that I lived in, the board president told me that it was not an FHA approved condo. What makes it FHA approved or not approved?
At the end of the day, it's really just you got to submit the same stuff that you get for condo warranty for a conventional loan. You submit the same docs to the FHA, and then they make a determination as to whether or not they will approve the association. The problem with FHA, and this happens with VA too, but the problem with FHA is it has to be renewed every 2 years, right? VA, once you're approved for life. FHA has to be renewed over and over, and there's a cost associated with renewing with FHA, so it's less attractive a lot of times for projects to continue to renew. So they created the spot approval program a few years ago, and that's kind of what's been used a lot of times until there's too heavy of a saturation of FHA loans in the project, and then they have to go through the FHA project approval process.
And you said that you have to do this. Who is you? Is that the condo board, or is that me, the borrower?
So really, anyone can do it. I usually do it for an HOA, just because I'm already talking to the VA. I'm already talking to the FHA. So I will collect the docs from the HOA, get them submitted to FHA, get them submitted to VA for approval, and just help facilitate that process. But yeah, otherwise, I guess the association themselves would have to talk to FHA, talk to VA, and kind of do it themselves. But
so that would be a decision that the homeowners association would make, whether or not they would want to be FHA. Do you run into that a lot? And
We don't run into it a lot. We are currently in a deal that's an FHA SWAT approval on a historical building, and that one's been a really interesting one to watch. The buyer switched lenders, and
Translate interesting. Does that mean it's like fun or?
When you're dealing with more non-responsive condo boards and HOAs, those FHA spot approvals are harder to get because you're really relying on a communicative HOA and condo board because if you're a home buyer, when you go under contract, that's when you'll start getting all of the condo documents that are associated if you're buying a condo rather than a single family. So you're going to get things like the budget, meeting minutes from all of the condo association meetings, the 22.1, a paid assessment letter, rules and regulations, declarations and bylaws. And that's where I come in, and I'm reading through all those condo documents with a fine-tooth comb. If you have an agent that doesn't have an admin, they should be doing this, but sometimes it's overwhelming. Their plate is full, or they don't know what to look for in condo documents.
There's value there.
That's lawyer work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so
what is 22.1? What is that, Patrick?
Are you asking me?
I am.
22.1 is the Illinois Condominium Property Act, Section 22.1. It tells a buyer what they can ask for and expect to receive from a seller. So, for example, there's a list of disclosures that need to be made. Is there any litigation involving the condominium? How much is in reserves? What portion, if any of that, is already allocated to some project of capital improvement? A lot of times it will say whether there's a parking space associated or storage space, how that's owned. Is it deeded? Is it LCE?
Now, how does that
You're not
get?
going to ask me what LCE
Limited
is?
common
you know I am. You know what's coming in there.
This is where
I got like 15 acronyms that you're throwing out me and different things that I don't know what they mean, and my little puny brain is juggling over here because I'm like, okay, what is that? What is that? What is that?
So all of that is meant to say that there is a layer of due diligence when you're buying a condo that is more than what you would necessarily do if you're buying single family detached. And so basically what I tell people when they're buying a condo is that you're investing in what is effectively a small business, and that business has expenses, and you are going to be responsible going forward for some portion of those expenses based on what percentage of the total square footage of the building that you own. And what you don't want to have happen is that because you're not going to be able to, you can't just walk away from this business without selling your place. No. And so once you're in, you're in. And
what a great club.
Well, it can be.
It can be.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes you've got great neighbors and it's a really good collaboration, and sometimes it's not.
Yeah. No, I was a condo owner for a short bit in Northbrook, and but it was weird because when you see somebody falling out of favor, and that they're not very nice to them, and then it's like it doesn't make it very welcome to live there when everybody kind of goes against you. But how do you? I mean, who does this, Madeline? I always thought
is it you that fell out of favor?
No, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. I could give you her name, but
no.
Actually, I did fall out of favor for a short bit, but we won't talk about that part. Who does all this? I hear you talk about getting the condo documents, Patrick, but I'm hearing almost like Madeline does that too.
Well, I think we talked about before having an extra set of eyes on it, and to have someone actually, have the agency to look at it and say, once it's handed over to me and they go, yeah, I noticed X, Y, and Z. And now I've got, first of all, I know to look straight there and review it, make my own determination as to what kind of issue is this? How big of an issue might it be? What do we need to advise the client on? Because basically, a big part of my role is I'm kind of an interpreter between what some other lawyer wrote and how to describe it in a way that my client will understand. Because the way liars, that was a Freudian slip. The way lawyers write it's dense. Is the nice way to put it. And we use a lot of jargon. Sometimes we throw some Latin in there. Why not?
Yeah, makes you sound important.
Well, sure. One might say it's a bit of a gatekeeping thing that we do, and there's a lot of that around. But
in the home buying industry in general, I feel like there's a lot of that, and having an admin is nice because if your agent doesn't know how to explain something to you, I can. I will walk people through line by line as they're signing contracts or looking through listing paperwork and take a little bit of that load off the plate of everybody else. And in terms of condo documents, yeah, it is the attorney's job to order the documents, but anything that I can do to make a deal easier and give people the bandwidth to use their strengths, which is their niche industry knowledge and expertise, I'm absolutely here for it. So if I can read through meeting minutes and see that someone mentioned a special assessment one time and catch that, then that's huge for a buyer.
Someone who reads meeting minutes other than me, that's remarkable. And here's the other thing, and here's where I think probably the best value that you can add in this situation is that sometimes those documents will be available before the attorney gets involved, right? So I'm not involved. I'm probably not seeing these documents till at the soonest a week after we go under contract. Mm-hmm. If you've looked at those documents and you spot something that is going to be a non-negotiable, and you actually don't make that offer, or you say, you know what, actually we're not gonna proceed with it, the value of the time that's going to be saved there for everyone who going forward would have done a bunch of work that never had a chance to actually end up with a purchased real estate. That value, it will be tough to put a dollar figure on it, but there is a lot of value.
It's unbelievable how valuable that is. Yeah. Because, again, it's an emotional process, somebody buying a property. And the longer we stretch that out and then all of a sudden it doesn't work out, you harmed a bunch of people. Mm-hmm. We're not talking about just the real estate agent, the home, we're talking about the sellers and their families and every process that they had to do to go ahead and get the property ready, and the buyers that are looking for different homes. And right now I'm hearing people talking about, $50,000 over or something like that?
We just had an agent on our team beat out a multiple offer scenario with 25 offers.
And what do you have to do to get that? And Patrick, if you're listening on the radio, you got to just see Patrick's eyes. They're going like a roller coaster over here.
I will say, quick tips for if you're in a multiple offer scenario. I never recommend waiving professional inspection. Do that at your own risk. I don't recommend it.
So when you waive an inspection, though, I mean, you're still allowed to have a home inspection, right?
No. Let's be clear about this. So, Charlie, I think what you're thinking of is as is. You're thinking of as is.
What, are you two in sync?
No, I mean, yeah, we're on the same page, man. We're vibing.
All right.
No, a professional inspection waiver would be that I'm not even going in there with anyone. I'm just going to waive it. We're going right past it. And as is says I'm going to have an inspection, and it's a yes or no after that. Now, that is, you can paint that with a ton of gray, because it's
a lot of wiggle room there. Depending on what you find, it can make or break a deal. Or sometimes in as-is sales, we'll still see our buyers try and negotiate for some things that may not have been disclosed. But as is competitive in a multiple offer scenario, I would never recommend waiving professional inspection. We were seeing that a lot in 2020 when people were just desperate to grab that mortgage rate. But I wouldn't recommend it. No. I know I'm on a home inspection. I'm talking to a home inspector aficionado, but I love home inspectors.
I like. I'm not going to go love. There's there's a few people that I love quite dearly, but there's some really good ones and some really bad ones.
Yes, there's differences for sure.
And that's in every field. Yeah. All right, it's not just ours, and I'm sure that there's some brand new transaction coordinators that don't have your experience and stuff like that. But, what do you do with, I'm going to go back to Joey a little bit here, and Madeline, what do you do with the loan brokers or the mortgage brokers where, making sure that, they have the pay stubs, they have the credit checks, they have, everything else, and it's not just a rubber stamp, here's an approval, go have a nice day. I mean, do you even look for that when you're working with your sellers?
Yeah. So, when I'm working with sellers, what we're really looking for in the pre-approvals is this a reputable bank, or is this a website we've never heard of before out of nowhere we've ever seen Nebraska?
I got to let you know, you got to be careful when you talk about website mortgage companies. That triggers Joey like there's no tomorrow. All right.
Like
I live on mute.
Those Instagram famous mortgage companies that'll hook you up. We'll look for, first of all, reputations. If it's lenders we know or we've worked with before, that's always great. But, if they're pushing for credits and pushing for things, we always like honesty. We've had people negotiate with us and they've been upfront of, this is really pushing the buyer's budget. I love that. If we're honest and we know where we are, that's how we can work together. But if lenders are hiding things, that's a little tougher. But in terms of the pre-approval process, I'm not really involved in that. But what I do help with is the minute we go under contract, we'll still send any condo documents we have on the listing side. We'll say they may not be the most up-to-date or reflect the entirety of them, but anything we can do to help a lender's job be easier from the get-go. We do full appraisal packets, we pull comps, any other offers we got, whatever we can do to help a lender succeed, whatever side we're on, that's my goal.
Joey, you love to write loans at the upper limit of what someone can afford, right?
Oh yeah, it's like the best thing in the whole world.
So
for
much
sure.
fun.
Yeah. No. Hey guys, I have a client that's gonna hate me next year. Let's do this thing. Yeah.
On this episode of House Poor.
Exactly.
Yeah. God. Oh my God.
So
Yeah,
what are
no,
some of the things she was talking about, Joey, that you would provide for them?
Well, one, I'm calling you before you're calling me. First off, I do that every single time.
Always a good sign.
If a list agent calls me, then I'm already behind the game. So I like to know as soon as my buyer puts an offer in, because I'm literally calling either before the list agent is opening the offer or as they're opening on the offer, so I can go talk to them about what I've already done on my end, how easy this is on my end. Because at the end of the day, I say it every week, being a mortgage guy is the easiest job in the world. There's just a lot of really lazy people in our industry, period.
Yes.
Well,
So-
any job is easy as long as you know what you're doing and you have a passion for it. Then it becomes real easy. And I'm not trying to discredit what you said. I value you.
Well,
No, for
Charlie,
sure.
Charlie, my job was so much easier when I didn't know anything.
Oh my God.
Yeah, right.
And I thought I knew
Boy,
everything.
is that true. When I first started, my job was cake.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything.
Same here, for what it's worth. The more you know, the more headaches you can actually create. But you gotta be accurate what you're doing.
Yes.
And and I don't know, maybe my business is going to be easier and easier as I go on, because the last time I knew everything, I think I was 18 years old or something like that. And every year that goes by, I know quite a bit less, or at least I realize I do.
Oh, I used to be so smart.
Yeah. Every year, I'm more confident in what I don't know.
Well, while we're all crying
That's
here
a
about
sign,
how...
That's a sign that you're growing in the right way.
Absolutely. And while we're all crying about how our memories are all failing us, and before we forget what they are, Madeline, if you don't mind, if somebody wants to get hold of you or your company there, how do they do that?
Yeah, so you can reach me at 312-439-9600. Our website is thedowellgroup.com. You can find all my information on there as well. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on the TikTok. Not as much as Patrick, but a little bit. My first wedding dance went a little viral on there, so if you want to watch me dance to some Jamiroquai, go for it on TikTok.
and I'm not even going to say who is Jamiroquai, or even if I pronounce it right, because I don't know.
Jamiroquai?
Jamiroquai.
No,
Jamir,
Jamiroquai.
not Junior? Oops.
No.
I was
Yeah.
making
Canned
fun of it.
heat.
No, that's all right. Make fun of me all you want. And what is
Virtual
it?
insanity, Charlie? Come on.
Yeah.
I don't
That
know.
music
We
video
went to
is so
trivia.
cool.
Oh, Lordy.
We went to trivia last night, and they put a song up there, and they wanted to know who's the band, and it was the Imagine Dragons. And I'm like, I just wanted to keep saying the Imagery Dragons or something like that. I couldn't pronounce it right when it came with it. But anyway, Patrick, how do they get hold of you if they have questions about real estate law?
I mean, if you want to feel better, she did call it the TikTok. So
I love it.
TikTok.
Yeah.
Like the Ohio University, you know?
oh God, don't. Ew.
Sorry, I had to trigger you a little bit. There's some revenge.
ILL. Get in touch with me. Find me on Instagram, Loftus_law. I just started it's going to be, based on how much I talk, this is going to be like an endless series about the multi-board 7.0.
I think that's cool.
I'm excited about that.
You're one of dozens. If you want to find me on TikTok, I'm repurposing my content. That's what they say. I'm repurposing my content on there at Loftus Law. You can be one of, well, if my next follower on TikTok will be number 45, which is not my favorite number for reasons that, I mean, we're on a progressive station.
We're
so
more number 46 is
I
far
get you,
better, so
yeah.
we need to get a couple.
Yeah, if we were down the dial.
Your count right now at 44. That's a nice number.
You know what?
I really like that number 44.
It's an excellent number based on the thinly veiled.
I did make a promise, no politics here, but go on.
We're just talking numerology.
That's it, just
Wrote
numbers.
that promise.
Right? And then,
Thanks, Obama.
we do what we can.
There it is.
Spew it out there. Joey, go ahead and give us your contact, please.
Yeah, you can call or text me at 630-235-2405. Find me at thevaloannerd.com or across social media as at thevaloannerd.
So, Joey, how often do you work with the actual real estate agent or a transaction coordinator in a team?
I mean, it depends on how they have the team set up, right? So if you work with a transaction coordinator, that's my go-to. So it will be the transaction coordinator who is talking to me and then talking to the realtor about the important pieces of the transaction going on, so the realtor knows what's going on. And then on my end, if an addendum is signed, the transaction coordinator is the one who will get that to me. So yeah. I love it. I love having a transaction coordinator because there's a lot of times where I'll reach out to a realtor and I won't hear back.
Silence.
So, yeah, exactly. So I think it's a beautiful thing to have. If you're a realtor and you don't have one, get on that train.
Madeline, let me throw that same question to you. What percentage of, give me a percentage for teams and solos, do they have an assistant or some sort of transaction coordinator as yourself? And is that a license in Illinois?
No. So it is, you do not have to have a license to be a transaction coordinator. In fact, I worked in industrial real estate for a little bit as a lease administrator, but I switched careers to go into transaction coordinating. I was an executive assistant for an investment firm, and I switched over to real estate. Actually, one of my really good friends used to be Danielle's assistant, and she recommended me for the position. So nice. I really didn't have any experience in residential real estate when I joined. I was just really good at paperwork and very detail-oriented and proactive, and just sort of threw myself into learning everything I could. But I'd say probably on most deals, I'm probably dealing with an admin or a transaction coordinator about 20 to 30% of the time. There's just such a wide range of agents and the volume that they handle in the city that you're dealing with people that maybe it's their first deal, or you're dealing with someone on Lee Marcus's team that is just like a well-oiled machine. It just depends, and so I've worked with everyone under the sun, agents that are incredibly responsive and answer your calls and texts at midnight, and agents that you have to track down at their favorite coffee shop to get an answer out of them. It just depends. So my goal is always just to be as responsive as I can. Like he was saying, I think a lot of agents, sometimes they're out in the field. It's tough for them to get behind a computer. There's some work that is really hard to do from your phone. Oh, yeah. I've mastered a lot of it, but it is really hard to put a document in DocuSign and put initials on it on your cell phone. So having an admin available to do that and answer questions really quickly, pull up contracts, see what personal property is in there for a quick answer, I think that's saved my boss quite a lot of headaches and time. You don't want to review a 96-page condominium declaration on your phone? Oh, yeah. Not saying I haven't done it. I've done it. I probably have way too much work access on my phone. But I love it. I love being responsive. I love being the person that has the answers as quickly as you need.
I would have to have one of those gigantic magnifying screens that do that. Danielle, get this poor woman an iPad for crying out loud. There it is. Give it a little thing.
I know. I do have I have a second monitor for my laptop. That's huge. Ooh. Yeah.
So, here's something that I think is going to be beneficial. So the listeners of the radio station here are either homeowners, home buyers, or, they're going to be somewhere in the process. And we know that everybody has a choice. Yeah. All right. And I'm a firm believer that everybody's not equal. And in this business is, I know, Mr. Surprise.
8:20 a.m. WCTV2. Oh, my goodness.
So if I'm a home buyer or a seller and I'm interviewing real estate agents, give me 2 solid questions that I could to find somebody who's going to be there for me. How do I know who's good and who isn't?
Yeah, I would always ask either for an example of a deal that went wrong and how you fixed it, or
But why would somebody want to give a deal that went wrong?
yeah, because it always happens. It
Okay.
doesn't matter how good of an agent you are. There are deals that can be out of your control, things you don't know, things that come up in inspection that nobody knew about, invisible problems in a home. How do you deal with that? You know, how do you handle clients when you're in the trenches together rather than those smooth sailing deals? And I also think a really important one is, what are the most common mistakes that home buyers or home sellers make, and how are you the solution to those mistakes? You know,
That's a tough question.
yeah, I think everybody can tell you their greatest war stories about how they shined, but how do you deal with adversity in a home sale or purchase?
Same thing with you. You know, go ahead.
Well, you know, those are interesting. To be honest, that's the first time I've heard someone bring up, you know, those kinds of questions, at least in the context of the Home Buyer's Hour. So thank you for.
Well, hey,
Well, she's bringing a unique perspective to this stuff, you know, because and we've had a lot of very successful people on this show, which I'm very thankful for. But it's always, you know, work hard, answer calls fast, get the answers right away, learn more. You know, it's like you're working 120 hours a week.
yeah,
And I'm not going to lie, I don't want to work 120 hours a week, you know.
There is no chance that I will be working 120 hours in any week, because I work for myself and I like myself. I try to like myself. Yeah, I mean, it's a
It can be stressful
it's
when
a
you
work in progress.
well, you
Yeah.
can't be it's you know, the airplane principle. You have to put your oxygen mask on yourself first. So if you're somebody that's organized, you set yourself up for success, then you're going to be the most help to your client. If you're someone running around like a chicken with their head cut off, what's going to happen if something goes wrong with the deal? Are you the person that's going to be calm, cool, and collected during an emotional purchase for someone? Or are
Yeah.
you going to add fuel to that fire?
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing you say is have you placed yourself in a position where you can be proactive, or are you constantly reactive?
Yeah, you can't chase. You don't want to chase the market for a seller. You don't want to chase it for the buyer. You want to be the person that predicts things no one thought of.
Yeah, and when you overload your plate, you're probably going to end up in a reactive place. And if you spend too much time...
That's our society, though. We're mostly a very reactive society.
Well,
And how do we become proactive is the real key without being aggressive.
Yeah.
Well, I can't control society. They've not given me the reins or authority to
Well,
do that.
I'm doing it right now. You are knighted the Society Guidance Counselor for the United States of America.
Finally, someone has seen the light. I have so many really good ideas if some people would listen, and you know, it's just not.
Well,
hasn't
you're
happened
always right. I know that, you know. I'm setting you up big time.
yet. I mean,
Because I know your wife is listening, so that's all good.
oh my goodness. What words do I use
I love
to
you, dear.
respond to that?
Yeah.
That's, I mean, look, you know, you could talk about society as a monolith and how, you know, there's a certain aspect of it that is reactive, and, you know, I'm one person and I choose to be in control of that. I'm not in control of anything else. I mean, just ask our cat. She doesn't think I'm in control of anything.
The little loaf.
Other than, yes, Bulka. Oh, my wife is going to love that. The only thing I'm in control of really is opening the food dish.
That's a good thing.
And if I'm not responsive, then she will go harass my wife. And so she's got it down.
Nice.
But anyways.
Well, Patrick, this broadcast just got you 46 followers.
Oh,
So we got you over that 45 mark and right up to 46.
yeah, 46 very underrated. I think we're going to look back on 46 and really think, you know, that was a good number.
So, Madeline, I want to go back and throw those same questions you recommended to ask, and I want to throw them right back at you.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you for 3 different examples. One towards the attorney, one towards the home inspector, one towards the mortgage broker. Give me some examples, you know, obviously no names or addresses, but give me some examples where we'll start with Joey, where something went wrong with the mortgage, and how did you overcome that problem?
Yeah. So we have actually this FHA loan that's a spot approval on a home that we're listing in a historical property right now. Switched lenders because the person that the buyer had chosen was not efficient and knowledgeable enough in FHA spot approval to get the job done with the condo association. And I've actually been really heavily communicating with the buyer's agent. Usually I'm not as involved talking to the buyer's agent about the deal itself, about negotiating things, but I've been going to site visits and things and sort of handling more co-listing side stuff. And we just got it done. We talked to her. We found other lenders, and the lender that the buyer found, amazing, like huge difference the minute this new lender tagged in. Super responsive. I've been really on top of making sure I get everything to her in as timely a manner as I can. Condo documents, things of that nature, getting them in for site visits. And I believe with FHA, you have to get exterior inspection as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, Joe.
Yep.
Yeah, and that can take an extra inspection. So that was a really great learning experience with switching lenders and finding
You
someone
just taught
who's
me
amazing.
something. I didn't know that. So that's going to be pretty important. So when we get a condo, and I'm sorry, I want to keep it focused on the mortgage side, but I just heard that if we get a condo, because we give our clients discounts if we don't do the roof and the exterior. And if that condo's an FHA mortgage, we have to do not the whole building, do we? I mean, if this is a 150-unit building, you're telling me I got to have the whole building inspected?
You got a drone, just fly it around.
There
Fly
are
it around
some
real quick.
laws,
Record in slow-mo.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Chicagoland Home Inspectors. You can was it .com? Yeah. You can see
Yeah.
Charlie in action with his drone. So go check him out.
Yeah, you'll see a picture of my bald head flying that darn thing. But I think this is going to be where we need to, do like the Star Trek episode 10 here, when they have the entire fleet of drones all communicating with each other, so they can make a bunch of videos going up and down. But I mean, I'm going to ask for an answer on that one. Do I have to look at that whole building? Or either you or Joey.
Yeah, Joey, if you want to jump in, I'm pretty sure it's at least just, exterior inspection of like the brickwork,
Okay.
tuck pointing, ceiling, all that jazz.
Yeah. They're looking basically at the structure of the building.
And if
Yep.
I was going to say, if you're a home buyer, tuck pointing is when you are filling in any gaps in mortar with the brick, if it's
All
a brick
right,
building.
she's smart. Now, what's the difference between tuck pointing and repointing? I'm going to get my test questions in on here.
I actually don't know that.
All right. Repointing is what you described, so I kind of threw you under the bus a little bit right there.
No.
But we'll get more on that. So give me another
Yeah.
one about Patrick there. What can an attorney do? And you know what? Before we go there, how soon did you recognize you were going to have problems with that mortgage broker?
I'd say about a weekend.
Weekend or
Yeah, weekend.
One week.
1 weekend.
That's something.
You can tell
find
quickly, if it is a big red flag, if
Yeah.
especially like lenders and attorneys aren't responsive on email. Agents, it's 50-50. Some of them, it's just text or call. Some agents aren't great with email, which I have thoughts on. I think in this business, you should be checking your email 24/7. It's important. But if I'm not hearing from a mortgage lender within one business day, that's a problem, especially if it's a 30-day close or less. You have to have people that are really on top of it. It's not saying this is like hustle culture, work all the time, but depending on the timeline and urgency of a deal, you want people that are on that same timeline with you.
I could buy into that.
Yeah, I'll tell you my pet peeve with lenders. Joey, listen up.
I'm listening. Yeah.
So here's my pet peeve, and this one is, Joey, I've not had this experience with you, so I'm not throwing you directly under the bus.
But he is going to try and trigger you, Joey.
I'm so getting triggered. I'm already ready. I'm muting now.
Joey's so sick of me because I just love to needle. It's the one where I'll email. It's typically when I'm going to be communicating with the lender. It's as often as not on the date of the mortgage contingency. The mortgage contingency, Charlie, is paragraph 7A of the multi-board 7.0.
I love it.
And what it says is essentially by a certain date, the buyer has to deliver evidence that they can obtain a loan as described in that paragraph.
And usually 5 business days before close or 45 days after
Really? That
acceptance.
far out?
That is what it says. Well, it depends.
Whichever is sooner.
Right. So 45 days
Wow.
after acceptance or 5 business days before closing, if it's because the drafters of the multi-board were the previous the multi-board 6.1 used to have a blank for that date.
Okay.
So they would just enter in the realtor would just pick a date. Then that wasn't always helpful because for a variety of reasons. Either sometimes they would pick an unrealistic date. Sometimes if there's some negotiations back and forth, let's say a week passes and, wouldn't happen in today's market, but believe it or not, at, most other times in the market, you will have a negotiation with one other buyer, and that negotiation might take a week. And now all of your deadlines, if you've entered them in
and haven't updated the contract,
right, it's a detail that more often than not would get overlooked. And so in order to address that, instead of leaving that blank, which the CAR form does have, CAR meaning actually it's not Chicago Association of Realtors. I believe Sarah Ware informed us way back when that it's Chicago Realtors, right? And
I'm not sure on that.
Oh,
I always
it's
thought it
CAR.
was Chicago Association of
Yeah.
Realtors.
well,
Yeah, that might be their new website.
I'm going to find this out,
Yeah.
and either I'm going to say I'm so smart.
I
or
think
I'm
that's
gonna-
their new website address. Just like the IAR, the Illinois Association of Realtors, they started calling themselves the Illinois Realtors, and that's now their website.
Well, I thought CAR would get confused with California Association of Realtors, so they wanted to. Maybe I'm remembering something that didn't happen.
Oh, you're a
and
smart guy. You got a better memory than
at
I do.
least a month ago they were still CAR,
Yeah.
because
Well-
I was at their Navy Pierre Awards gala.
It might be like a Czechia thing where Czech Republic was trying to become Czechia and nobody really took them up on it, and they go, all right, well, fine, we're Czech
An
Republic.
Istanbul, Constantinople sort of situation.
Yeah.
All I
yeah.
could do is
Love
think of
that song.
Stripes right now, the movie Stripes, and we're taking the MC 350 or E50, whatever it is, into Czechoslovakia, and it's like going to Wisconsin or something, and you talk about I got beat up in Wisconsin. So
We are having. We're just.
This is a total Seinfeld episode right now. I love it.
unbelievable. I'm all over the board when
we've
it
got-
comes to this.
We've got the boomer reference. We've got the Zennial
Well,
reference.
I mean, these pretzels are making me thirsty.
I gotcha. Nice.
Oh, I don't know what we were
But
talking
I
about.
can't understand it. No,
We really derailed on that one, didn't we?
big
I
time, and
can-
it's always my fault.
No,
But
no, I'm the derailer.
I don't understand how we can get that far. How do you get to the 11th hour and a mortgage falls through?
Well,
Yeah.
it shouldn't unless there was some existential occurrence that made it fall through. So, for example, everything's roses and great, and then there's a job loss. And
Okay, I can see that.
I
Yeah.
actually have an example of that. We had a buyer who was relocating for a job in Chicago, said they weren't going to buy until they got their job offer. So they put in an offer on a place. We incorrectly assume they have received an offer. We get past attorney reviewer about a week till close, and we find out from the buyer she did not get the job.
Joey, any thoughts?
That was a tough one.
So the lender.
Joey's out.
Well,
the
no,
door
Yeah.
I'm
now.
sorry. Yeah. So we at least had a contingent offer for a job when she was out there. Did the lender have that?
Yeah, the lender had it that it was contingent upon her getting the job. So luckily, the lender and the attorney worked together pretty quickly to be able to get her out of the deal. But that was a tough one.
Okay.
So
I'm okay. I'm okay with that because at least they had the contingent offer letter, right?
Yeah,
And then
yeah, we were-
obviously
we
if
were-
contingencies aren't satisfied.
yeah, luckily we were able to get her out of it. But that's also for any home buyers out there. It's sort of like doctors. Just be honest. And
Yeah.
if we know everything, I promise we won't judge. I've seen it all, and the more we know, the more helpful we can be.
Indeed. And if from my perspective, you can share just about anything with me, and I'm not allowed to tell anyone about it.
Yeah.
No,
Unless it's
yeah.
disclosures about material defects with your home, then yeah, we kind of have to disclose those.
But even that's
That's the
to a
thing.
certain limitation too.
Yeah.
You don't have to disclose every single thing. I mean, what are those numbers where that what falls in? What do I have to disclose and what I don't have to disclose?
Yeah, I mean, the first important thing for people to know is that realtors cannot fill out disclosures about a property for you. They can't. So DocuSign is always fun for me when it comes to the real property disclosure, radon and lead. But if you're selling a property, you have to fill out a property disclosure and make known any defects that you are aware of in the home. And if it comes to find out that you knew about something and you didn't disclose it, not so fun to deal with. Luckily, knock on wood, haven't had to deal with that. But if you're a realtor, your responsibility is what you know and what you can see. you haven't lived in the home, but if you're walking through and you see clear signs of water damage or a leak, you have to let the owner know. You have to disclose that.
But what about like a junction box missing, a cover plate?
Yeah, if I don't know that, if I don't know what that looks like or what to look for, not my responsibility. But if I'm made aware of it, you got to let people know.
Patrick, are you aware? Is there a dollar value or what they have to disclose? I mean, every time I read those things, it's like Sergeant Schultz. I know nothing, that comes out of there.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a dollar figure, because that would really make it even less useful than it is. But you really, let's think about it from a deep pocket perspective. So I'm a home buyer, and I discover 3 weeks after closing that I have 2 feet of water in my basement. And
you're going to be upset.
Yeah, I would think so. And then I come to find out that this is like the 4th time it's happened, and as a matter of fact, it happened 2 weeks after the listing agreement was signed with the agent, and they must have known about it. Now, if I'm a lawyer and someone's coming to me with that set of facts, I'm much more likely to say, let's head down to the courthouse and file a lawsuit, because if I'm just suing a homeowner, I've got to worry that homeowner has something to get. If I'm suing the homeowner and the real estate company, and I think they legitimately have liability, I'm much more comfortable assuming they have something to get, and or they have E&O insurance, which means even if they don't have something to get, they have insurance to go after. So
yeah, but there has to be a big number to make that worthwhile, because I'm not going to invest $10,000 on attorney fees to win $100.
Well,
yeah, I'd say flooding is definitely a big one.
You took the words out of my mouth. In the example I gave, especially with a flood, there's likely not to be insurance from a first-party perspective, meaning your homeowner insurance ain't paying for that.
Yeah, because if you're in a flood zone, you have to get separate insurance anyway.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's a big exclusion.
And it's required to be paid in escrow.
That's interesting.
And most likely you're probably not going to buy
Why
that house.
Is it when we get to the end of our hour over here, there's always like about 15 other subjects that come up that I want to talk about?
Well, I'm curious, Patrick, in that situation, is there ever a time that you would also loop in the home inspector on that?
Usually not. I mean, perhaps yes, just because you want everyone at the defendant table who might be possibly liable. But in terms of a deep pocket to go after, if they have a retainer agreement, their contract, then it's going to limit their liability. I'm not going to get much from them.
Yeah.
And we're going to bring that up again next week when we do our next show that comes up here. Madeline, we are short on time, so please, quickly, how do people get hold of you one last time?
Yes, my name is Madeline Ackerlund. You can find me on Instagram at Madeline Ackerlund, spelled Madeline. You can also reach me.
I like that Madeline.
Madeline at thedowellgroup.com. You can also reach me 312-439-9600. I'm really passionate about educating people and empowering them with paperwork and making them feel informed about what they're doing, so no question is too small.
That's probably one of the most important things I've ever heard any real estate agent say. Patrick, how do they get hold of you?
Yeah, join me on Instagram if you want to find out about what's in this contract. Loftus_law.
Good, and I think that's going to be huge interest. I mean, you're going to go line by line, explaining each little thing on that thing, right?
You're going to be sick and tired of it.
I am really excited about it.
Done with page 1.
I'm nerding about it as well. Joey, how do they get hold of you?
Yeah, 630-235-2405, theVALoanNerd.com, social media, the VA Loan Nerd.
Sounds good. And my name is Charlie Belfontaine. I own Chicagoland Home Inspectors. Our phone number is 312-544-9180. Our website is The Home Inspectors. That's plural, ORS, and it's a .com. I want to thank Carrie, who's substituting for Devin this week, for making us all sound so good. And this is Charlie, and I am out.